The city lights shone bright, but for her, the streets were cold and empty. She walked slowly, her head down, holding her thin coat tightly against the night wind. People passed by, their eyes on their screens, their faces busy with their own lives. No one looked at her, no one cared. She was invisible to the world. She had not eaten properly in days. Her stomach hurt, but she kept moving. Every corner felt the same. Tall buildings, glowing signs, and the noise of hover cars above. She once had dreams, but now she only dreamed of warmth and food. Her shoes were worn, her hands shook, and her heart felt heavy with silence. At the end of a dark alley, she sat down on the cold ground. Her eyes lifted to the sky between the towers of glass. She saw the stars. For a moment, she forgot the hunger, the pain, the loneliness. The stars looked brighter than usual, almost alive, almost watching her. A sudden flash crossed the sky, not like a normal shooting star. It was sharp, glowing blue, and it moved in strange patterns. Her breath caught, her eyes widened, and her heart began to race. Something inside her whispered that this was not normal. She stood up quickly, looking around, but no one else seemed to notice. Crowds kept walking, laughing, speaking, while above them the light danced. She felt a shiver run down her spine, as if the light was calling only her. She wanted to believe. It was just her tired mind, but deep down, she knew better. Her nights were always silent, but tonight felt different. The air was heavy, the shadows were long, and the city's sound seemed far away. She started walking again, this time without knowing why or where. Her steps followed the strange pull in her chest, as if someone was guiding her. At the edge of the street, she saw a figure standing alone. He was tall, wrapped in a dark coat, his face hidden by the shadows. He was not like the others who rushed by. He was still, watching the sky. She froze, her heart beating hard, wondering who he was and why he was there. The man turned his head slowly. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. For a moment, their eyes met, and she felt a strange warmth inside her. It was not fear, not danger, but something she could not explain. It felt as if he already knew her, as if he had been waiting. She stepped back, unsure, but the man did not move. Instead, he nodded once, almost like an invitation. Her hands trembled, her mind screamed to run, yet her feet refused. The silence between them felt heavy, filled with unspoken words. The strange blue light in the sky flashed again, brighter. This time, it reflected in his eyes, and for a second, she thought they were not human eyes. She gasped, but no sound came out. Her voice locked by fear and wonder. She wanted to look away, but something deep inside her would not let her. The wind grew colder, carrying a low hum she could not place. It came from the sky, or maybe from the man himself. She could not tell. Her pulse raced, her breath shook, and she felt she had reached a moment that would change her life forever. Alone, cold, hungry, but for the first time, not unseen. She did not know who he was or what he wanted, but in that moment, standing in the shadows with the stars above, she felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. The man did not speak at first. His eyes stayed on the sky as if he was listening to something far away. She waited, her hands cold, her body ready to run, yet her heart whispered to stay. Finally, his voice came, low and calm. "You should not be out here tonight." The words felt heavy, not like advice, but like a warning. She swallowed hard, unsure if she should answer. No one had cared about her in so long. No one had asked her anything. She only nodded, her voice lost in the night. The man studied her for a moment, then turned and began to walk. Something strange happened inside her. Her tired body followed without question. She told herself it was foolish, dangerous, but her feet moved anyway. He walked slow, as if waiting for her to keep up. Every turn he took led, Away from the crowded streets into quieter places, at last they stopped in front of an old building. Hidden between shining towers, its walls were cracked, the windows dim, yet the door opened with a smooth hiss. The inside was nothing like the outside. Instead of dust and broken walls, she saw glowing panels, screens filled with stars, and machines that hummed softly. Her eyes widened, her hunger and cold forgotten. The room was small but alive. It felt like stepping into another world. He set down a small box on the table, pressed a button, and it opened to reveal steaming food. The smell filled her nose, and her stomach growled so loud it made her blush. "Eat," he said simply, his voice firm but not unkind. She reached for the food with shaking hands. Every bite tasted like life returning to her. She wanted to thank him, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she only looked at him, searching for answers. He sat across from her, silent, his fingers tapping gently on the glowing surface of a screen. Strange maps appeared, circles and lines moving like living drawings. Her eyes followed the shapes until she realized they were not streets, not places she knew. They were stars, whole clusters of stars. Her chest tightened, questions burned inside her. Who was he? Why did he live in a place like this? Why did he help her? But his face gave nothing away, calm and unreadable. Only his eyes moved, always looking at the stars, as if Earth itself was only a stop. She wanted to ask, but before her lips parted, he spoke again. "You are safe here, but there are rules," he said, his voice steady. "Do not touch what you do not understand, and never open the locked door." Her breath caught, the warning sharp, making her even more curious. The room grew quiet, only the low hum of machines filled the air. She finished the food, warmth spreading through her weak body. She was still, homeless, still alone. Yet here she felt something different. Not kindness, not comfort, but shelter mixed with danger. That night, as she lay on the small bed he gave her, she stared at the ceiling glowing faintly blue. Her mind replayed his words, the maps, the strange light in his eyes. Who was this man, and what secrets hid behind the locked door? Sleep came slowly, but deep inside she knew her life had just stepped into a place from which there was no turning back. The night was silent, yet she could not sleep. The small bed was warm, but her thoughts were restless, the man's words repeated in her head. "Do not open the locked door." Warnings always carried weight, but this one felt like a chain pulling her closer. She turned on her side, staring at the faint blue glow on the ceiling. The air around her seemed alive, filled with a soft humming sound. At first, she thought it was only the machines in the other room. But as the minutes passed, the hum grew sharper, deeper, almost like a hidden heartbeat. Her chest tightened, curiosity burning stronger than fear. She sat up quietly, her bare feet touching the cold floor. Every step she took was slow, careful, as if the walls themselves were listening. The corridor outside her room was dim, the light flickering softly. Like breathing shadows, she stopped near the door he had warned her about. It was different from the others. Smooth metal with faint lines glowing across its surface. She pressed her ear against it, her heart racing. The hum was louder here, mixed with faint whispers she could not understand. She pulled back, her breath shaky, her hand lifted as if on its own, reaching for the handle. But before her fingers touched it, a sudden vibration shook through the metal. She gasped, stepping back quickly, her pulse hammering in her ears. From behind the door came a flicker of light, blue and silver. It glowed through the cracks, shifting like waves of energy. Her eyes widened, her mind filled with questions. Was it a machine, a weapon, or something alive? Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy and steady. She froze, her body pressed to the wall, her breath held tight. The man appeared from the shadows, his tall figure outlined by the faint glow of machines. His eyes found her instantly, sharp and unblinking. For a moment, neither spoke, the silence heavy with unspoken truth. He stepped closer, his coat brushing against the wall as he stopped in front of her. "You should not be here," he said quietly, but his tone carried no anger, only disappointment. His gaze shifted to the door, then back to her, as if measuring her soul. "I heard something," she whispered, her voice weak but honest. "It was calling to me." The man studied her face, his jaw tight, his eyes reflecting something she had never seen before. Not anger, not fear, but sorrow. "You are not ready," he finally said, his words heavy. "What is behind that door is not for you to touch, not yet." She wanted to protest, to demand answers, but his voice held a weight she could not fight. Still, her heart screamed for the truth. He placed a hand gently on her shoulder, his touch cold, yet strangely comforting. "You have survived this long on Earth, but survival is not the same as understanding," he murmured. "There are things greater than hunger, greater than loneliness. Things that can burn the world if touched too soon." His eyes softened for a brief second, then hardened again. He guided her back to her room, each step echoing with questions she dared not ask. When she lay down again, her body still trembled, her mind restless. The hum behind the door still echoed in her ears, faint but unending. It was no longer just a sound. It was a promise, and it was waiting for her. That night, she closed her eyes, but sleep did not come easily. The locked door, the blue light, the man's sorrowful eyes, all of it stayed with her, pulling her deeper into a mystery she could not escape. She knew she was already too close to the truth, and one day soon, the door would open. The morning light slipped through the narrow window, but inside the room, the air still carried the weight of the night. She sat on the small bed, her hands clenched, her mind locked on the door and the strange light behind it. When she finally stepped out, the man was already awake, standing at the table with screens glowing around him. His face was pale, tired, as if he had not slept at all. She wanted to speak, but her voice felt stuck. The silence stretched between them until he finally turned, his eyes heavy with something she could not name. "You want answers," he said, quietly, not as a question, but as truth. Her chest tightened, and she nodded slowly, afraid yet desperate. He walked past her to the window, pulling the curtain aside. Outside, the city moved as always, cars in the sky, people rushing, lights flashing, yet his gaze went far beyond. "It is strange," he murmured, "to be among millions and still feel like a shadow." His words carried a loneliness she recognized, a pain she had lived with every day. He turned back, his eyes meeting hers, and for the first time he looked human, fragile, almost broken. "I am not from here," he said, his voice steady but soft. Her breath caught, her heart skipped, and the room seemed to shrink around her. He continued, "I came from a place, beyond those stars you watch at night." Her lips parted, but no sound came. The words were impossible, yet deep down she knew. His eyes, the strange machines, the blue light, none of it was from Earth. She shook her head slowly, whispering, "That can't be." But her voice cracked, betraying her disbelief. He moved closer, his steps calm, his presence overwhelming. "I lived on a world where the sky never darkened, where oceans glowed silver, where our voices carried across mountains without sound." His tone was not proud, but sorrowful, as if each memory cut him. "We were seekers, explorers, but not all journeys are safe." She listened, her body frozen, her heart racing faster with each word. "What happened?" she asked finally, her voice trembling. He closed his eyes, and when he spoke again, his voice was heavy. "My people sent me to search, to learn about Earth, to watch, never to be seen." Her stomach twisted, the truth settling like fire in her chest. He was not just a man with secrets. He was something far beyond her understanding. But then his eyes softened, his voice lowering. "Yet when I saw you, I broke the rule." Her breath shook, the room suddenly smaller. "Why me?" she asked, barely able to speak. He studied her, his eyes filled with something she had not seen in anyone for years. "Because you remind me of what I lost," he whispered. The silence grew thick, every second stretching long. She felt the truth pressing on her, dangerous yet strangely comforting. Her mind screamed to run, yet her heart felt chained to his words. He was not only giving her answers, he was giving her a part of himself. Finally, he turned back to the glowing screens, his shoulders heavy. "There are things I must protect, things behind that door," he said firmly. "But now you know who I am. You must also understand the danger that follows me." His voice carried no threat, only warning. She stood still, her breath uneven, her heart heavy with fear and wonder. The man who had given her shelter was not just a stranger, not just human. He was something greater, something that belonged to the stars. And whether she was ready or not, her life was no longer her own. The city outside looked normal, but inside, the hidden shelter, the air had changed. She felt it the moment she woke, a heaviness pressing down like unseen eyes watching. The man moved quickly, his screens filled with red warnings, strange symbols flashing across them. He didn't look at her at first, his jaw tight, his focus sharp. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice low. Afraid of the answer, he finally turned, his eyes darker than before. "They have found me." Her stomach dropped, the words burning inside her. "Who?" she whispered, though deep down she already knew it was not good. He walked toward the door, his coat swaying with each step. "There are forces who do not forgive disobedience," he said, his tone like iron. "They know I broke the rule. They know I helped you." His gaze landed on her, heavy and searching. "Now you are part of this, whether you want it or not." Her breath caught, the room spinning. She had been invisible all her life, ignored, forgotten, but now she was hunted. "Why me?" she said again, her voice breaking. He paused, then shook his head. "Because you stepped into my path." And I could not turn away. Suddenly, the walls shook, a low rumble spreading through the floor. She stumbled, catching herself on the table. The machines buzzed, lights flickered, and the hum behind the locked door grew louder. "They are close," he said, his voice calm but urgent. Her chest tightened, fear clawing at her. She thought of the cold streets, the hunger, the silence she once lived in. She had nothing then, no future, no reason to keep moving. But now, even in danger, she felt something different. Hope. The man stepped closer, his voice low, steady. "You have a choice." He pointed. "To the door that led to the city. Stay here, hide, and they may leave you." Then he pointed to the glowing locked door where the strange hum pulsed like a heartbeat. "Or come with me. Leave this world and step into something you cannot imagine." Her hands trembled, her mind screamed for safety. Stay, hide, be invisible again. That was the easy choice, but her heart burned with a fire she had not felt in years. She looked at him, his eyes steady, carrying both sorrow and strength. "If I come with you." "What will happen?" she asked, her voice shaking. He did not lie. His words were raw. "You will never be the same. Nothing will ever be simple again, but you will not be alone." Her throat tightened. Tears stung her eyes. All her life, she had been alone, and now someone offered her a place, even if it was in danger. Another rumble shook the walls, dust falling from the ceiling. Outside, faint shadows moved past the windows, figures searching, hunting, closing in. Her heart raced, the choice heavy in her chest. Stay in a world that never cared for her, or step into the unknown with him. She took a breath, her hands curling into fists. Her voice was quiet but firm. "I'm not staying here." For the first time in her life, she chose not out of fear, but out of hope. The man's eyes softened, and he gave a single nod. He turned to the locked door. Placing his hand on its surface, the lines glowed bright, blue energy rippling across the metal. The hum grew louder, deeper, alive. With a final glance at her, he whispered, "Then we go together." The door opened with a deep, metallic sigh. Light spilling out like water, blue energy flowed along the walls, lines of silver shifting and bending as if alive. She gasped, shielding her eyes, the glow brighter than anything she had ever seen. The man stepped forward, his hand steady on her shoulder, guiding her inside. Behind them, the rumble of footsteps grew louder, shadows moving fast through the outer hall. She looked back once, her body trembling, agents in dark armor pushing through the building, weapons shining cold. Her heart pounded, every instinct telling her to run. Yet she followed him deeper into the hidden chamber. The door sealed shut, the hum rising into a low roar that filled her bones. The chamber was vast, larger than the building itself. A silver ship rested in the center, smooth and curved, glowing. With veins of light, it looked alive, its surface shifting like skin under starlight. Her breath caught, awe drowning out fear. She had never imagined such a thing could exist. The man's eyes softened as he looked at the vessel. "This ship is old, older than this city, older than you can imagine," he whispered. "She has been waiting for me, and now, for us." His words echoed in the glowing chamber, heavy yet comforting. The floor shook violently. Agents breaking into the outer layer, their voices sharp, their boots pounding. The ship responded, its lights pulsing faster, as if sensing danger. He pulled her forward, the ramp opening like a mouth of light. "Once you step inside, there is no turning back," he warned. Her legs trembled, her mind racing. Behind her lay a life of cold streets, empty nights, and silence. Ahead of her burned danger, mystery, and the unknown. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and stepped onto the ramp. The ship's surface rippled under her feet, warm and alive. The moment she entered, the hum shifted into a low, steady rhythm like a heartbeat. The air inside was different, clean, sharp, filled with a faint metallic taste. Strange symbols glowed along the walls, rising and fading like whispers. The man moved quickly to the front, his hands pressing against a curved panel. The entire chamber answered, lights flickering, engines awakening with thunder. She grabbed the wall to steady herself as the floor vibrated harder. Outside, the muffled sound of gunfire echoed. Agents firing, trying to break in. "Hold on," he said firmly, his voice calm, even in chaos. The ship roared, the chamber walls, splitting open above them, revealing the night sky. Shards of broken concrete fell as beams of blue energy lifted the vessel upward. Her heart raced, fear mixing with wonder as the city shrank below. Hovercars scattered, alarms blared, people screamed and pointed. The agents fired into the air, their weapons flashing uselessly against the glowing hull. The ship cut through the clouds, rising faster, higher, into the dark. Her body shook. Yet her soul felt light for the first time. The stars opened wide before her, endless and alive. She pressed her hand to the glass, tears filling her eyes. All her life she had been small, forgotten. But now she stood at the edge of forever, beside her. The man turned, his eyes no longer sorrowful, but full of quiet strength. "This is only the beginning," he said softly. She looked at him, her lips trembling, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm ready." And as the ship broke free of Earth's sky, she believed it. The Earth was now only a fading sphere of blue and white behind them. She stared at it through the glass, her chest tight, her breath unsteady. That world had given her nothing but hunger, loneliness, and cold nights. And yet, watching it shrink, she felt a strange mix of sorrow and freedom. The stars stretched. Out in every direction, endless rivers of light. Some glowed soft like candles, others burned fierce like fires in the dark. She pressed her hand to the glass, her heart racing at the sight. For the first time, she realized she was truly small, yet no longer forgotten. The man stood beside her, his coat now set aside, his figure calm. His eyes reflected the galaxies, endless knowledge hidden within. "You are far from home," he said gently, "but closer to where you belong." His words wrapped around her like warmth, steady and sure. She turned, her voice quiet. "What happens now?" He walked to the front of the ship, the walls lighting as he touched them. The vessel answered his presence, its hum steady, like a guardian waking from sleep. "We travel," he said. "We search. We build a new path." The ship moved faster, slipping into a silent corridor of light. Colors she had never seen spread across the glass, purple rivers, golden storms, silver waves of energy. Her eyes widened, her lips parted, awe holding her still. This is beautiful," she whispered, tears shining in her eyes. He looked back at her, his face softer than ever. "It is only the surface," he said. "Beyond these stars are places where suns sing, where oceans float in the sky, where people live without fear." Her chest swelled, her heart aching at the thought, a life beyond pain, beyond the silence of empty streets, something she had never dreamed of. But then his voice grew heavier. "There will also be danger," he warned. "Others will hunt us. Not all stars shine kindly." She nodded slowly, her hands curling into fists. "I've lived in danger all my life," she said, her voice stronger than she expected. "But I never had a reason to fight. Until now." For the first time he smiled, not the faint, sorrowful smile she had seen before. This was different, filled with quiet pride, almost relief. "You are stronger than you believe," he told her. "And now you will see why I chose you." His words filled the ship, heavier than any promise she had ever heard. Ahead, the stars bent. Stretching into a tunnel of light, the ship vibrated, energy flowing through its walls, preparing for a leap. She held onto the railing, her heart racing, not from fear, but from hope. The unknown no longer scared her. It called to her. The man placed his hand on the control, the walls glowing brighter. He glanced at her one last time, his voice steady. "Are you ready to leave everything behind?" She looked out at the endless stars, her lips trembling but firm. "Yes," she whispered, her voice filled with fire. "I'm ready." The ship leapt forward, stars stretching into streams of light. Earth vanished behind them, lost to distance, lost to time. Her old life ended in silence, and her new life began in fire and starlight. Homeless no more, forgotten no more. She had found shelter. She had found a future beyond stars.